I think there's always some short-term noise, Kelly, but what we're really focused on is the long term. We're going after $1 trillion market opportunity and really focused on giving customers with our work marketplace strategy all the ways to work with freelance talent right here on Upwork. So we couldn't be more excited about the prospects, having delivered our fourth consecutive quarter of accelerating revenue and GSV growth.
Yeah. So we know also your stock is one of the best performers in the pandemic. I think it had more than tripled or something like that. I mean, you could look at the decline today and say maybe it's a sign that Delta's not going to be the end of the world again. But what would you tell us you're seeing? You're kind of there in real time. How is this new variant affecting the workforce right now?
I think the major lessons actually have been learned at this point, having come through the last 16 months of the pandemic. The lesson is remote work is working. So many companies have figured out across the landscape that they can engage remote talent, regardless of whether they're back in their offices or whether they're back working from home. And that is critical because companies have been facing age-old problems around access to skills, needing more agility with their workforce, and needing more efficiency. And they've discovered with platforms like Upwork that they can tap into freelance talent all over the world to give them those benefits. So coming through to where we are now, and whether or not the Delta aspect of the pandemic changes things, that lesson around access to these folks, they can carry through to whether they're working in their office or not. And that's really the critical thing that's going to get us through the next couple of quarters, whether there's some more noise from Delta.
Hayden, I was writing a little bit this week about labor force participation, and this all goes back to the Fed and all of that kind of thing. But, a lot of people have been assuming that the pandemic set back a societal goal of having, as many people as possible in the workforce. And I wonder if, in fact, it accelerated like it did with so much else. If there's actually a sort of a pressure point, especially with two parents, if both are working, if things like free work, Upwork or freelance work offer a different path. Could you just sort of tell us the kinds of people who you think are mostly involved in freelancing and in gigs type of work? Is it younger people, those who are marginally attached to the workforce, or is it people who might have been traditionally part of the labor force? What do you know?
Yeah, it's frankly all types of workers who are realizing that freelancing can serve them in different ways. So what we've seen before the pandemic is a lot of workers were engaging in freelancing, and that was just their full-time job. Then through the pandemic, more workers decided to participate in this because they were nervous about their full-time work prospects or decided to moonlight on the side, and that certainly drove more demand. 60% of workers who gave freelancing a try over the last year plus said there was no amount of money that they could be paid to go back into the full-time work that they were doing. And that is a huge stat when you think about it. So what we're seeing is freelancing is working so well for people because it gives them the flexibility, the control, so many aspects of what they're really craving. And you mentioned, caregivers, parents, people who have so many responsibilities in their lives who are making freelancing actually work so well for them. And I think that is where freelancing really intersects with the needs that people have holistically as humans and is giving them economic choices as well as, everything else they want in their lives. And that is something that's going to endure well beyond, the pandemic and anything else that's going on, at this moment.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.